What are we discussing on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast? Why the MLB All-Star game was bittersweet for Dbacks fans, players to watch in the second half of the season, and my farewell to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. On today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing why the MLB All-Star game was bittersweet for Dbacks fans, players to watch if the Dbacks blow up their roster in the second half of the season. And then it's not my last podcast today, but we got a crossover with the new Locked On Dbacks podcast tomorrow. So my last solo show. So I want to do a little farewell, a little reminiscing to end today's podcast. And thank you guys for all your years of listening. And of course, if you've been listening to Locked On Diamondbacks, have been making it your first listen every day, thank you. I've not been able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. I try to go live Sunday through Thursday after Dbacks games. I don't think I'm going live anymore, guys, but still hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. Still follow Locked On Diamondbacks, the show account, Twitter, Instagram, and please follow my personal account at CreatorThomas24. But now let's get into the show. Back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast and discussing the MLB All-Star game, because I think it was bittersweet for Dbacks fans because it was a great display for the Dbacks. Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, and Eugenio Suarez all made All-Star worthy plays in the game. Ketel Marte got the game going with the first runs, doubled down the line, just ripped a rocket off Tarik Skubal, who is one of the best players in Major League Baseball, right? Arguably the best pitcher in the American League, vying for his second straight American League Cy Young Award. Like, he is absolutely nasty. And if you want to say he's the best pitcher in the sport right now, I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with you. So the fact that Ketel Marte, first inning, is able to put 2 runs on the board against Tarik Skubal, I think that goes to show you how good Ketel Marte is, especially compared to the rest of the field. Now, Brendan Donovan also came in and had 2 hits, so I guess it was a great day for NL second baseman, but Ketel Marte is in a class of his own when looking at players in his, players at his position around Major League Baseball. So that was the first mark for the Dbacks fans that showed you, you know what? Our team is pretty good. Despite the record, we got some pretty good players. We also got Corbin Carroll, who was in this game. He had himself a home run, the tiny Corbin Carroll. It does not matter about his frame. He packs a lot of power. Then Eugenio Suarez, he was making some defensive plays in this game. He could have been in the home run derby if he was not hit on the hand by Shane Smith of the Chicago White Sox. I believe Jack Summers of Sports Illustrated says, you know what? There's some history between those two guys, and he's not convinced that it wasn't intentional. And so you got the first runs of the game by Ketel Marte. You got a home run by Corbin Carroll. Half the runs in this MLB All-Star game was produced by the Dbacks, and the game could have been won by Eugenio Suarez if he wasn't hit on the hand. And so in the showcase of the greatest stars, the greatest athletes in Major League Baseball, it's the Dbacks organization who probably has the biggest impact on the game. And that's why it's so bittersweet, because in the game with the best talent, the Dbacks organization makes the biggest impact, but yet you look at their real life roster and what the impact has been this season, the position players who made to the All-Star team, they've been doing their part this season for the D-backs, as the D-backs have one of the best offenses in the National League, despite them being a below 500 team and being disappointment. It has not been the offense's fault. The offense continues to be the bright spot for Arizona. 493 runs scored, puts them third in the National League among all teams this season, behind the LA Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. But when you have a bullpen and a pitching staff as bad as the D-backs, it does not matter how good your offense has been. That's why watching the MLB All-Star game was so bittersweet, because you saw the D-backs position players. We know how good the D-backs offense is, and we saw Ketel, Corbin Carroll, Eugenio Suarez. We saw them on the biggest stage make an impact, and instead of it feeling like a showcase of the D-backs, you were just reminded how much of a disappointment this season has been, despite all the talent you have, because we sent 3 guys to the All-Star game, and despite all that talent, the D-backs are more than likely going to miss out on the postseason, more than likely going to be sellers at the deadline. And you can make the argument the MLB All-Star the MLB All-Star game was a showcase for the trade deadline for the D-backs. Eugenio Suarez, if you want to come get him, his 30 home runs and his nearly 80 ribbies showed he can flash some leather as well. It was a great showcase for him. Obviously, Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll are not going anywhere, but such a disappointment from the standpoint that you have this super talented team. If you're the Arizona Diamondbacks, the most expensive roster in D-backs franchise history. You went out there and spent money the last few years on Corbin Burnes, Jordan Montgomery, Erod, Madison Bumgarner. You're going to go 0 for 4 on those signings. Corbin Burnes was a stud before he went down with injury, but now you're missing 2 years of Corbin Burnes. Mad Bum was immediately a bust. Jordan Montgomery was immediately a bust. Erod was immediately a bust as well. All you big offseason signings have not paid off the last couple of years. Trying to live on the margins with the bullpen has also not paid off. And now we're watching this team over the last 2 seasons have a top 3 offense. You could say cumulatively over the last 2 years, maybe the best offense in the National League, considering they were first last year, third this year in runs scored. You can at least say they've been a top 2 offense over the last 2 years. And it's not going to matter. The D-backs are going to be on the outside looking in from the postseason because of questionable managerial decisions, the front office not taking the bullpen more seriously, pitching coaches. I don't know what happened to the pitching coaches this season. Going from Brent Strom to Brian Kaplan has been a major downgrade. The D-backs on the margins have not cleaned up their issues, and it's been the big problem. They've done the big splashes with the Corbin Burnes. They got the star players, the Corbins and the Ketels, but they have not done a good job of around the margins, cleaning up their bullpen, cleaning up the pitching coaches, and even cleaning up the managerial position. And because of it, everything is coming back to bite the D-backs. We got to see an amazing showcase of D-backs talent in the MLB All-Star game. But I can't help, after watching the All-Star game, I felt more bittersweet seeing all this talent that the D-backs have, and then looking at our real-life team, looking at the team record, and seeing that we're going to be trading a lot of our guys, and we're going to be sitting out in the second half of the MLB season. And because of that, we'll talk about some players to watch in the second half of the year if the D-backs do blow it up at this year's MLB trade deadline. But on a more positive note, let's talk about game time, because we've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their last minute killer deals. I love Game Time because I get last minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed, and they're not lying. When they say prices drop the closer you get to the start of the date, I don't even buy tickets till the day of anymore, because that's when I get the greatest and the cheapest deals all through Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's discuss some players to watch in the second half of the season if the D-backs decide to blow it up, because the first obvious name is a Jordan Lawlar, who we've seen have 2 short stints with Arizona, neither one of them very fruitful. But if we have a hole on the left side with Eugenio Suarez traded, and if we also have Josh Naylor traded, you can make a strong argument. You put Pavin Smith at first base. All of a sudden, you can have more Jordan Lawlar at DH. You can also have him and Perdomo split third and shortstop. Both of them could get time at each position. And of course, we just want to see, we know defensively Jordan Lawlar should be fine, even though he's looked kind of shaky. Offensively, he has to show us something. Lawlar has done pretty much nothing on the major league level with his at-bat, except strike out a whole ton. He has looked overmatched every time he's been on the major league level, while crushing it every time he gets sent back to the minor leagues in AAA. And you look at his stats right now in minor league baseball, he's got a 284 average, an 892 OPS. He's got 8 bombs, 11 stolen bases, 41 ribbies in 54 games. Like, he always produces in the minors, but through 2 stints in the major leagues, it has not been good for Jordan Lawlar, as he's batting .246 through his 2 major league stints. And so he is someone that we definitely want to see get going. Should have a longer runway in the second half of the season. Could play third, shortstop, DH. There should be a lot of positions to fill if Jordan Lawlar. I was actually looking at Blaze Alexander's career batting average. I was like, there's no way Jordan Lawlar has a career batting average of 246. I accidentally clicked on Blaze Alexander. Jordan Lawlar, his career batting average is 80.08. He is 4 for 50 in his career. So he's not done a 259 OPS. So he has not done a good job offensively on the major league level. So definitely want to see more Jordan Lawlar the second half of the season. Also want to see more Ryan Nelson, because we need to know. I mean, I think we know at this point it's legit, but I mean, it's been a calendar year where he's looked fantastic and been the best D-back starter. If he can do it for the rest of 2025, like, the sample size will be undeniable at that point. And then you actually have to go into the offseason and be like, is this a guy that should be a keeper for the D-backs? Is this a guy? I mean, I'm looking at the contract now. I was going to say, is this a guy that, we should think about giving an extension to this offseason? But he's actually entering arbitration in 2026. And so he's not going to be a free agent until 2029. So you're not going to do anything with Ryan Nelson. You're happy that he's turned into this really good starter that you have to pay nothing for. And if he continues this for the rest of 2025, I think you have to go into next season and be like, Ryan Nelson's our number 3 starter in the rotation. You have to go into the offseason with the mindset that Ryan Nelson at worst is your number 3, number 4 starter. Maybe you want to go into the offseason and still sign somebody, but we're talking about Brandon Pfaadt, we're talking about Erod. Ryan Nelson at this point has jumped all of them in the rotation. And if Merrill Kelly doesn't re-sign with the D-backs, I'm looking at Ryan Nelson as the D-backs number 1 starter entering 2026, which is a phrase I thought I would never say, but here we are. It's both a combination of unluckiness with the D-backs and the fact that Ryan Nelson has turned into such a good pitcher, a real breakout star. Good to see with Ryan Nelson and the D-backs development. But speaking of the D-backs development, Brandon Pfaadt is someone that you have to watch for in the second half, because we need to see how he's going to develop. He started the season fantastic. The first month and a half, he was leading the league in wins. He was pitching well too. Like, it wasn't fluky. This was a guy, you look at his first 3, 4, 5, 6 starts. 5 of his first 6 starts went at least 6 innings pitched, and the other one that didn't go, he went 5 2/3. Like, this was a guy that was giving you length every single time. He only had 1 start with more than 3 earned runs through those first 6, and it was a 4 earned run performance over 6 innings. And so he was really good those first 6 starts of the season, had a 2.78 ERA. Then all of a sudden against Philly, bad conditions. He gives up 6 earned runs. He bounces back the next week against the Dodgers, pitches into the 7th, no earned runs. And for some reason, ever since that Dodgers start, where the broadcasters were disrespecting Brandon Pfaadt, he had just not been the same since. And the start against the Nationals is where he hit a new low, 8 earned runs, didn't record it out, and his numbers have just been absolutely destroyed ever since then. He's been fine in some starts since then. He was fantastic in his last one against the Padres, and we need to see more of that going forward because this was a guy so good through those first 6 turns in the rotation and then has struggled mightily since then. This is someone that we need to emerge as a number 2, number 3 starter for the D-backs going forward, someone that we have a lot of investment in. Already gave him that contract extension this past offseason. Brandon Pfaadt is someone that needs to pay off for the D-backs for the long haul, because if he does not develop into the starter that the D-backs expect, that will push this franchise backwards. Adrian Del Castillo is another guy I need to see. Jose Herrera, he's cooked. He does not have a future with the D-backs. I like James McCann, but for a team that's out of the postseason, we don't need James McCann. James McCann is good if the D-backs are in the wild card race and you need that veteran. If the D-backs are not playing for anything, give me the youngster, Adrian Del Castillo. Let's see what we have with him. He's been up and down this season with injuries, so you haven't seen him a ton in Reno, but when he has played this season in AAA, he just continues to dominate whatever level he's at. He's played 14 games, 48 at-bats so far with the Reno Aces. He's got 15 hits. He's got 1109 OPS. He's got 3 bombs, and it's like he was fantastic for the D-backs in his sample size last year in 87 plate appearances. He's been good so far in Reno this year. He just has way more offensive upside than a Pavin, than a Jose Herrera. Like, he should be the backup catcher and like the lefty DH for the D-backs, and he is definitely someone I want to see more of the second half of the year. One thing that I think the D-backs need to figure out is Jake McCarthy versus Alek Thomas. I want to see those two guys split playing time for the rest of the 2025 season. Feels like the D-backs still don't know who they want to keep between those two gentlemen, and it feels like the D-backs only want to keep one of them. Of course, Alek Thomas is better defensively, but I don't think Jake is a slouch. I think he's improved mightily as a defensive player, and the numbers are bad this year, but I think we all know Jake is a better offensive player than Alek Thomas. Like, Thomas feels like he's having his best offensive season, and he still has a 245, 295, 366 slash line with no power. And the speed, despite the sprint speed telling you he's fast, the stolen bases have just never been there, just doesn't have the instinct on the base paths. And so I want Jake McCarthy to be the winner. I think you could actually get more potentially for Alek Thomas. I don't know about that, but I want Jake McCarthy to be the winner in that battle, and I want to see those two get as much playing time as possible in the second half of the season. Then the final guy I want to evaluate is Kevin Ginkel, because the D-backs need Ginkel to get back to form. He's coming off the injury. He has looked really bad in 2025, started to heat up a little bit recently, but for the D-backs going forward, they need dudes in their bullpen, and Kevin Ginkel is supposed to be one of those guys. If it turns out the Ginkel experience is just over, this is just who he is going forward, that is devastating for this D-backs bullpen, but the strikeout numbers are still good. The home run rate is still good. It's been the command issues this season, and so I would like to believe Kevin Ginkel, it's still within him to be a dominant reliever. It's been a slow start to 2025, and so I would like to believe he can bounce back in the second half of 2025. And now I'll do my little farewell to the Locked On D-backs podcast. And thank you guys for all the years of service and listening in segment number 3. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant just for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions or your spending habits or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now we're going to do a little farewell, do a little reminiscing about my time here at the Locked on Dbacks podcast. Tomorrow, we got a crossover with the new Locked on Dbacks host. So it's not our final Locked on Dbacks podcast, but our final solo show. And just want to talk to you guys a little bit about why I'm leaving. And thank you guys for all the years of support and listening to the Locked on Dbacks podcast. Because to be honest, there's no real strong reason as to why I'm leaving. It's not like I got a new job. I'm not going to another network. My personal life just with design, because my full-time job is a graphic designer. I've just been doing more design in my, personal life outside the podcast. I'm moving up in my career in the corporate world. I'm doing more freelance than ever. And so my personal life with design is just more busy than ever. When I look at my schedule, it's just hard to fit the podcast into, my bigger goals right now when it comes to graphic design. And so I love doing this over the last few years. I started the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast back in January 2020, right before the pandemic season. I think I started right as the pandemic started, like crazy timing. And I've been here for the last 5.5 years due to your guys' unwavering support. And so I just want to thank you guys for listening. It's been such a crazy and wild ride, because when I took over this podcast, I had no podcasting experience. I'm sure if you go back and listen to those early episodes, they are bad. I've done the deep dive before. I've listened to the early pods. They are not good podcasts. Please, if you want a good laugh, go listen to those first few months of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, because it was not quality content. I was doing my best, but I had not found my footing or my rhythm just yet. And 5.5 years later, I would like to think I finally have some semblance of what to do on the mic. I'm sure you guys would still disagree, but it has been such a fun time over the last few years. And it's just been such a roller coaster when you think about this D-backs team and what season by season has been. I mean, I don't think any podcast host has had a more roller coaster experience than maybe me. I mean, I think the Texas Rangers, Bryce Patrick, the Locked on Rangers, he's probably up there. Maybe Javier Reyes of Locked on Padres, maybe Ryan Finkelstein of Locked on Mets. But you think about this D-backs team, I mean, 2020 COVID-shortened season, D-backs had some expectations entering the year, considering they just signed Mad Bum. We thought maybe they could be like a wild card team, just super disappointing. But we were like, you know what? Write it off. It's COVID. It's 2020. It's a shortened season. Like, it doesn't matter. 2020 comes around, and we just witnessed one of the worst seasons in Major League history. If the Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies didn't exist a few years later, I mean, the D-backs would be one of the worst teams in the 21st century with their 52-win season, 110 losses. We had Josh Van Meter on the final day with a walk-off to blow us the number one pick. Like, it was a terrible year. Another season of Mad Bum being terrible. Another season of the D-backs unable to close any games. 2022 gets a little bit better. We're a team on the rise. Corbin Carroll debuts. The bullpen is still a disaster. And I argue if the D-backs had a league average bullpen 22, I don't know if we make it to the postseason, but I think we're a 500 team and we're right there on the cusp of maybe 82, 83 wins. And we'll see if we're able to make it in 2022. But it was at least a step in the right direction, a little bit more of an interesting season, able to actually follow along from start to finish, unlike 2021, where you get to June and you're like, man, I still got 100 games left. This season is already over. Just so tough to do as a podcast host. Then 2023. The World Series, the most fun I've definitely had doing this podcast. You had the Dodgers playoff win with the 4 home run game capped by Gabby Moreno, and just destroying Kershaw in game 1 of that series was so much fun. I went to the Alec Thomas NLCS game. We had the big home run against Craig Kimbrell. I was in the right field stand. That ball was not that far away from me. I went to 2 home World Series games against the Texas Rangers. I mean, it was a fantastic ride by the D-backs. 2024, of course, more disappointing with the injuries, and then 2025, even more disappointing. But it was such a fun ride in 2023, and I just have so many good memories from doing this podcast. Despite the D-backs, making it to the postseason once during my tenure here, I just have so many good memories over the last few years doing the Locked On D-backs podcast. I mean, when my grandfather passed away a couple years ago, he was a huge baseball fan, and I kind of use the podcast as a little therapy session to have, pay respect to my grandfather, talk about him. I might have even shed a tear on the Locked On D-backs podcast. And so I thank you guys for letting me have that kind of moment. I've been able to grow to love this D-backs team truly. Like, I'll be honest, the D-backs were not a team I was very keen on when I took over this podcast. I did not know a lot about the history. I did not know a lot about the current team. I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up as a Boston Red Sox fan. I didn't know anything about the D-backs, but over the last few years, I've grown to love Arizona. They are now my favorite baseball team, and I want them to win more than anything else, more than any other sports franchise. To me, I want the Arizona Diamondbacks to win. And over the last few years, we've had so many different guests on this podcast, able to bring joy, bring the memories, bring insight. I mean, we've had players on the podcast, Zach Gallen, Pavin Smith, Riley Smith. We've had insiders from Cam Cox, Nick Picaro. We've had Zach Buchanan on the podcast. All my friends that Locked On who I've had on the podcast over the last few years. This has meant so much to me. I've been doing it for so long, and it's going to feel so weird next week when I'm looking up, the D-backs game is starting. I'm going to have to say to myself, I could watch it. I could go to the movies. I could go to a happy hour. But no matter what happens, I don't need to record a podcast tonight. It's going to be such a weird feeling. I've been pretty religious recording podcasts after D-backs games the last few years. It's been a grind. And I have not been upset recording the podcast. Let me say that. I've loved doing it the last few years, but I think I need a break. I think I need a new passion right now. I think I'm just needing to take a step back right now from doing the Locked On D-backs podcast. It has been a lot on my life the last few years. And I think I just want a little bit more control when it comes to my personal life, having a little bit more of a balance, taking a break from the mic, and then maybe come back in some time with some new content, new material. I'll say stay tuned. I am not going to another network, but who knows? Maybe I'll be starting my own network sometime in the near future. Thank you for all the memories, all the laughs, all the tears, everything you've provided over the last few years. Thank you for all your support. And thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.